I try to pick out, first of all, songs that have a good running beat to them, and pick out songs that have stuff like running in them, like Give Me 3 Steps, Walk, Don't Run, stuff like that. About 2 or 3 years ago, people started coming by and giving me requests. They come by and want Doors, Grateful Dead, or Rolling Stones, or, I have to tear my living room up to do this, but it's only one day a year. Come on. No, why didn't this come on? What the runners tell me is when they come up that first, there's 330 steps there, and they come up that and they're tired, and they see the second steps, which is about 300 steps.
Second step, second
wind? They see the second steps coming up, and then they hear the rock music, and they all come up and they start pumping their fists. This is unbelievable. This has been playing all week. This has been playing all year. Why in the hell is this not playing? I think about it because I used to be a runner, and so I play things with a beat that you can run to. You wouldn't want to play reggae music and have everybody, bouncing up the steps. You got to play something with like a running beat. Well, we are going to use a piano-type amplifier because, for some reason, after 10 years of service, this amp quit working, this Marantz. Watch your ears, there's no volume control. Running music.
It's 7 miles long, across the southwestern shoulder of Mount Tamalpais. San Francisco is only minutes from the start, but the city can feel a century away. It's a trail and a race of contrast and variation, of metaphor. It's also a race of history and tradition. By morning's end, there'll be over 100 Dipseas in the book, run through 100 years. 1,400 will start in Mill Valley. All will follow a similar path, but each in their own way. 1,000 epic adventures of 90 minutes or less. But there's only one winner, and because it's easier to follow the action at the front than in the middle, this is a story about the race to win the 100th annual Dipsea. Here then are this year's race favorites, and a couple of long shots too. The little girl in pink is Riley Johnson. She's 8 years old, and the youngest girl in the race. Last year she led the race for a couple of miles. It was pretty cute. Next to Riley in blue is Melody Ann Schultz. Melody is 68. She's won the Dipsea 3 times. She's also collapsed twice while leading the race. Melody is considered one of the all-time great Dipsea runners. Russ Kiernan is another 3-time champion. Russ won at ages 60, 62, and 65. He's a race and fan favorite every year. That's Jamie Rivers on the left. Jamie's 60. She and her husband Roy have both won the Dipsea and are both expected to repeat as champion. Mark McManus ran the race's fastest time for 3 consecutive years. Mark finished second last year and may be the favorite to win this year's Dipsea. Mark is 36. Last year, 23-year-old Alex Varner ran the race's fastest time, but only finished in 3rd place, because the Dipsea is a handicapped race, which means that most runners get head starts. Riley and Melody start in the first group of the race and get a 25-minute head start over Alex, who's in the last group, the scratch runners group. The race start is staggered, 26 groups starting at minute intervals. The groups are organized according to the principle that a runner of any age, man or woman, can be the first to the finish and win the race. This year it could be Riley or Melody, it could be Alex or Mark, Russ, Roy, or Jamie. For all of them, and for hundreds more, a full year of anticipation and preparation has led to this moment, the start of the 100th annual Dipsea race.
Okay, AAA group, you know the drill. Start slow, taper off. Your race begins in 3, 2, 1.
At 8:30, the whistle blows for the race start, and Riley and Melody are away. We don't know what time the winner will start, but we can predict the time that he or she will finish. About 9:42 a.m., 72 minutes from now, and 47 minutes after the scratch groups start.
Well, whenever anyone asks me what the Dipsea's about, the first thing that I would say to them is describe the course and how difficult it is. And the best way I can describe it to a runner is to say that if you were to run at the 8-minute pace over a 7-mile race, just 7 miles, you'd have one of the fastest times of anybody out there. If you ran at the 7-minute pace, you would have the fastest time. If you ran at the 6-minute pace, which is a minute a mile slower than a good national class marathoner runs 26 miles, you would break the course record by 2 minutes. That's how difficult this course is.
It consists of a cross-country, almost straight as the crow flies type race with starting downtown Mill Valley.
It starts out with like almost a mile of stairs, and I don't know how many there are. There's like 600 or something?
Something like that, yeah.
A lot of stairs.
I don't know the exact number anymore. I think it's 672 or 676 steps now.
It includes 677 stairs, probably within the first half mile there.
And then you like go up a little more hill, and then you go down.
Descend down to Muir Woods. That's probably about a 1,000-foot drop.
Oh, and there's like, what's that one? Suicide? Mm-hmm. Suicide is it's like shortcut, and it's like straight down. And then you get to Muir Woods.
And then you climb up, I think it's about 1,300 feet.
Up.
Really steep up for a while. And then it kind of like levels out a little bit, but it's still up for like a long time.
A long 2-mile uphill with hills called Dynamite, the Hog's Back. Then we go through kind of a drippy forest area, the rainforest.
And then you go the rest of the way up the hill. And
where is that now?
What's that one called before you get to the top?
I'm not sure.
Rough Joe?
Cardiac, where you feel like you're going to have a cardiac.
Because you're just about at the end of the rope on the uphill.
Anyways, and then you're at the top, and it's really exciting. And then
you have a spectacular view towards the ocean. Now you're making more or less a blasting 20 minutes or better down to the Stinson Beach finish.
And you pretty much just keep on going down, 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 and down, and down, and down, and down.
And then you descend down the swoop, which is treacherous and rickety and terrible footing.
And then you have steep ravine with stone steps. It's all hazardous down hills. But then you get to almost what you think is the last hill, or you've completed them, and then you have a nasty little 100-yard up called Insult Hill, named by Don Pickett.
Which is nothing but an insult that late in the race, and then you gut it on into the finish over the moors or take the shortcuts down the road.
There's a couple of shortcuts that include some pavement running and nasty little trails, so it gets very crowded when you have some 1,500 total people set off in waves. And then you make the spectacular finish down through a spectator line corridor to the finish at Stinson Beach.
And then you finish at beautiful Stinson Beach.
And then it's just down into the finish until the end, and then it's just flat into the thing.
I've been running the Dipsea race. Well, this is going to be my 3rd year. I started running when I was 3, and I just I just kept on running, and I heard of the race because my dad started running it, so I started running it as well. I'm trying to beat him this year. I do start in the first group in the race, and I'm happy about that because I can get a lead in front of everybody else, and so everybody else is behind me, and when they catch me, I'm still going to be close to the front, so I can keep it in the front for a little while, but then I might get in the back for a little bit. But yeah, I did do a report on the Dipsea, and I went to Russ Kiernan's house, and he had all his trophies out, and I got to take some pictures of that. Yeah, I really, really want a black shirt, and I'm trying to get one this year, but I don't think I'm going to be able to, but I'm going to try to. I hope I do, though, because that would be really, really, really cool. Because I know that only a couple other, I think it was only one other person got a black shirt or won something in the Dipsea race when she was 8. And that would be pretty cool to be almost that age as well. Because I am that age, almost that age as well, getting a black shirt.
The black shirts started not as black shirts, but as blue shirts and yellow shirts and any number of shirts, because the Dipsea race in its earlier incarnations had a hard time figuring out what order people finished. So somebody had the bright idea of handing out T-shirts at the finish line, and so you would know who 1 through 25 was, and there were 25 T-shirts. People kept them; they seemed sort of cool. And then in 1978, they went to 35 shirts. Ever since the shirts turned black in 1977, they have become a mania. And I have heard so many people say, if I could win a shirt, I would die happy. There's no other race that I can think of where finishing 35th, it has this monumental import. The difference between 35th and 36th is like night and day. It's crazy. Finishing 35th is like surviving a plane crash. And it's painful, there's dirt, there's dust, things are flying around, and you have no idea how you did it. The number of variables is insane. Where, one more fast runner shows up, or one runner doesn't fall down, you're 36th. To win, you have to have 1 or 2 things go right. To finish exactly 35th, everything has to go your way.
I didn't know how important it is until the time when I actually got the black shirts for the first time, and it was number 35. And I thought that I missed it by 10 places. I was so exhausted. I was just exhausted mentally and physically. I was really upset about the fact that I didn't make it. And then somebody came in and said, you know that you got the last black shirt, and all of a sudden all of the pain, everything totally evaporated, and I just jumped up and started running around like, like, hey, everything is gone. I felt totally great.
Jackie Taylor gets 31, Jeff Vaughn gets 32, 33. Jake Garcino gets 35th again.
So that tells you how important black shirt is. It gives you some extra excitement that normally you things give you that.
38 and 39, David Richards 39 by our count.
So there's a tendency to go too quick at the start, common in races, but especially this one. Since it's a handicap race, you got a group 2 well ahead of you taking off on the minute. And everybody's trying to make a mad dash for the stairs, and then to deal with that very hard uphill 677 stairs will turn your legs to rubber if you don't pace it right. All right, now we're scrambling on those stairs. Let's go. So today we're just playing a little bit leg fatigue simulation on the track by mixing up some exercises along with the intervals. 3, 4, 5. Hell, hang on a second. Hang on a second. Let's do them again. I see this. All right, let's go. Come on, you're trying to simulate. Remember back in '83, a demonstration by Sergei Litvinov, the Russian hammer thrower. Front squatted, 405 pounds, 8 times, and did a 75-second quarter, and did that for repeats. So a few squats with no weight shouldn't be much to complain about in comparison, I'd say. But the idea is that just a little bit of leg fatigue, but I'm going to keep them moving too, because that's exactly what happens out on the course. So the theme today is course simulation.
How many black shirts, Tomasz, do you have? 4 black shirts? Okay, the way you're looking...
Young Riley is first up the steps, with a split of 9.5 minutes for the first 2/3 of a mile. Melody is 15 seconds back in second. Behind them, 9 more start groups, including Russ Kiernan's 23-minute group and Jamie Rivers' 18-minute group, have joined the race.
Can we have the E group to the starting line, please? Can we have the G group to the starting line?
I'm so bad on all these digital and cameras and computers. God, I can barely make it work. I do have it on 0 now. All right. Getting better. You did it the first time that time. 22 seconds faster coming over this way. This is, well, 2:08, and that was 23 seconds. It was 1:45 coming down. So it's significant. I know last year I checked it out. People are they're not going down here, they're not going down here. They're going straight out here, definite, across here. And I don't know, looks like they're not cutting in there at all. But they were sort of going out onto that ridge and then coming down. Can't see where they were. You wouldn't want to, this is too circuitous. That's what you never want to do when people follow someone and they've never done it. It's really stupid because they're the people who have done it are going to get through a lot faster, and then you're going to be going. You're not going to know where the hell to go.
Well, it is an open course, and actually I should have mentioned it before. That's part of the mystique of the course. That it is a race where you can actually explore options. You can design the Dipsea race specifically to your abilities. You can see, I can run through here, but there I'll take it easy, and the shortcuts are part of the design. And that's part of the art of running Dipsea. That you kind of create it so it will fit you. So at the end in the race, you run it optimal.
This is the Q group, 56-year-old guys.
Riley is still leading through Hockey Hollow, the beginning of the first downhill. She's through in 16:45. Melody is 20 seconds back. Russ's split, 3 minutes later, shows that he's lost a minute to the leaders. Behind them, Jamie's split at the top of the steps was the same as Riley's. And in Mill Valley, the 8-minute head start group, the Scratch Women's group, is ready at the start.
R to the starting line, and T to the slash corral. The R group,
11-year-old guys, 54 to 55-year-old.
No, I'm trying to win. Absolutely. That is the main focus that we're not losing sight of here.
That is why we're out training hard, because I personally want to do well, and especially given the opportunity to win the thing again. I want to do well. It's not the end of the world to me if I wouldn't win, but I want to put my best foot forward and perform well too. I mean, the race deserves it. It's an honorable endeavor, and I am into that.
It's our big event. I mean, it's Marin County's main running event, and we're thinking about it from the day after the race until the next race. And a lot of people are thinking about it. I mean, they get 4,000 people to try to get in the race, and they can only take 1,500. Everybody wants to sort of be a part of it, and we've been doing our best for however long it's been, 20 years, and we want to win. Of course we do. It's like I keep going back to those Italian hill towns with their traditions. The Siena has that Il Paolo race, the horse race, where they have 17 neighborhoods, and each neighborhood puts up a horse every year, and they've been doing it for 1,000 years. And those guys want to win. That's what it's all about. It's their big local. It's a really big event in a little pond. And
Right.
That's exactly what we have here.
Our local event.
It's our biggest event. I mean, for us, it's way bigger and way more important and way more compelling than the Super Bowl or something. That's not a local event. That's not our thing. But if I had to choose between, being able to watch the Super Bowl and being able to participate in the Dipsea, hands down, we do this. This is what it's all about.
Right.
So, of course, we're trying to win.
Riley and Melody look comfortable cruising down the road to Muir Woods. But the first sketchy downhill of the race, the steep and loose suicide shortcut, is just ahead. 18 minutes and almost 2 miles back, Roy Rivers and his group are about to start. And fast forward 7 minutes, back to Muir Woods Road, Jamie continues to match, but not beat, Riley and Melody's splits. Riley and Melody are off to a great start.
My name is Melody Ann Schultz, and I've run the Dipsea probably close to 11 times now. I think it's 11 times, and won it 3 times. 1999, 2003, and 2006. I know you don't want to talk about the double Dipsea, but I won the double Dipsea 3 times as well. And ironically, in 2003? 2003, I won the Dipsea by 5 minutes 33. And I went, no, you're going to knock things over, Destry and Sonny. You cannot wrestle here if you... Sonny, what did you do? Okay, well, you just need to sit quietly. Would you like to go inside and read some books? Okay, you go inside and read some books. Or, Sonny, are you going to sit here or are you going to go in and read some books? Come on, you kiddies. Okay. I'll open it like this and you push against the door. So you can scrap out all that if I just answer the question. I only started running at about 46 years of age. 45, because my daughter had just been born. And at first I thought I was just a jogger, and then began running. And by when was it? I don't know. It was 1992. I turned 50, and I decided I was going to do a marathon. I didn't know what sort of time I was going to do. I did a 3:12:28, and I missed the record by 14 seconds. And I didn't know that. And then for the next 10 years, I guess I sat on 3 hours 12 for every other marathon I did, except for Boston, which was 3:20. And it was my winning Boston that got me into the Dipsea. Because I'd tried 3 or 4 times before that to get in, and, I didn't know the procedure, and I was trying to get into runners. And then somebody said to me, well, why didn't you just tell them that you won the Boston? And I wrote that on my application form, and then I was in.
And the scratch runners for the slash corral. These are the 1-minute handicap guys. 18-year-old men.
24 minutes after Riley and Melody, Mark's group is set to go. To win, Mark will have to pass over 600 runners in the next 48 minutes, most along a single-track trail. And because of the way the head starts play out, he would not likely take the lead until the finishing stretch. After Mark's start, only Alex's zero head start group, the scratch runner group, is left.
This is Wednesday, and I'm extremely tired. I had a long, hard race on Sunday. I did data breakers. I was a part of the winning centipede team. We just missed the world record by 20 seconds. So we ran 7.5 miles across San Francisco at 5:03 pace per mile. And it was an all-star team with just sponsor guys from all over California, and including myself and Alex Varner. Alex was the fastest time winner last year at the Dipsea. We squeaked in on that team, and we definitely helped out. So that gives the Dipsea a lot of credibility. A lot of people talk about, oh, the Dipsea doesn't have any good local talent or any national world-class younger guys. And Alex Varner and I were disproving that. For the last 9 months, we've been encouraging each other and feeding off each other's drive and, focus on the Dipsea. Both of us want to win. And if he wins, I'll be really happy for him. If I win, I know he's going to feel the same way, but our goal is to go 1-2.
The Dipsea gets crowded for the small head start runners. Passing becomes a challenge and a factor in the race. Despite the traffic, Roy has gained 3 minutes on the leaders through Hockey Hollow. And Mark and Alex have each gained over a minute on Roy. As told in Barry Spitz's History of the Dipsea Race, one of the greatest Dipsea stories, that's also a great illustration of the challenges facing the low handicap runners, is the 1970 Dipsea Race and the 35-year saga of Norman Bright. The story begins in 1935 as Bright, a top distance runner of the day, made his Dipsea debut. Bright ran the day's fastest time, but finished second, behind a runner with a 5-minute head start. Bright tried again in 1937. Coming off a record-setting win in San Francisco's Cross City race, Bright was in top form. He trained very hard on the course, finding shortcuts, cutting brush, opening fences, and more. His work paid off. Bright broke the 25-year-old course record with a running time of 47:22. But again he finished second, this time to a runner with a 6-minute head start. Bright did not return to the Dipsea for 33 years. In 1970, Bright, now 60 years old and challenged with failing eyesight, but still the course record holder, returned to the Dipsea race. His preparations were again tireless. He made over 20 trips from Seattle by bus to practice on the course. This time, Bright won the race, finishing in under 60 minutes at 60 years old in the 60th annual Dipsea. But the story did not end there. 60 seconds after Bright, the second-place finisher broke Bright's course record, and then less than 2 minutes later, the third-place finisher, Don Makela, established an even faster time. Not one of 3 course records, set in a span of 58 years, was good enough to win the Dipsea race. At 15:30, Marcus hit the bottom of Dynamite, the abrupt start to the 2-mile-long, 1,100 vertical foot climb that's the heart of the Dipsea race. Many slow to a walk-up Dynamite, but Mark will have to grind it out and pass hundreds along this narrow, rooty, and rocky section. Meanwhile, Riley, Melody, Russ, Jamie, and Roy are well ahead on the climb, running free and clear of the crowds.
The hardest thing on race day is changing gears and getting around people, I think. Because it's like you're waiting, and then your window's there, and you have to be able to sprint and jump through it, and then keep going, and it happens a couple hundred times.
Yep.
Are there people who are put off because they can't win? Absolutely. Most people I talk to were like, why would you ever do that if you don't have a shot at winning? Like, why, you have 700 people to pass. Why would you ever run a race where there's 700 people out on the course in front of you? I don't know. It's a challenge.
You never know. For Alex and I, there's always that chance that we could. I think every year we run the race thinking that there's a chance we could win. And if we don't, it's all right.
If we don't, you still have everybody going, holy crap, you passed 698 people.
It's not the end of the world if you don't win, but there's always a chance that we can.
Over a mile ahead of Alex, the race leader is about to crest the hill. It's Riley, first out of the trees, summiting cardiac in 49:23, an 8.5-minute improvement over her last year's time.
I think at cardiac, I don't remember looking at my watch because I was so excited. I was like, oh, I'm in first. They're pouring water on me. I'm like, I gotta keep going. I can't stop to look at my watch.
I could just hear people screaming. Here's number one, and there's number two, and it's Melody. And we got, and as you say, it was about 40 seconds. She did crest it quicker than me, and the reason why I think I gained again on her was, as I started out again, I think I grabbed water. Quickly, and ahead of me, she was bending over and she was getting sick.
I got way too hot, and I was like, oh, my stomach, and I stopped and was like, I gotta throw up. My mind was like racing, and I was thinking, oh God, Melody, she's just gonna pass me now. She's super fast on the downhills. I have no chance of winning. I am stopped here. I just threw up. There's no more chance. This is over.
We were very close to one another, and we stayed that distance from one another. I think, oh gosh, getting on the last stretch just to swoop. I kept thinking, gosh, I wish I was in front of her.
70-year-old Hans Schmidt summits cardiac in 3rd place, 90 seconds behind Melody. Hans started 2 minutes ahead of Russ, but beat him to cardiac by 30 seconds.
I think I wanted to be there at 50 anyway, which is, before I used to always think 45, and I think my best was like 37, years before. I keep thinking of those things, but I think it was like 52. It's not going to go great, but I felt okay. But just age is catching up. I think I wasn't injured or anything. It was just not my day for sure.
The top of cardiac is the high point and the turning point of the Dipsea. The race changes from uphill to downhill, to favoring speed and endurance over strength and power. The finish is 3 miles of very fast and often treacherous downhill running ahead. In a way, it's a whole new race. Roy's cardiac split is 37:08, 13 minutes faster than Melody, but he's still 6 minutes back, and will likely need every bit of the remaining 3 miles to close the gap, which says nothing about the lead he holds over Alex, closing him behind him.
Cresting it, I knew Mark and Gus were behind me. I had no idea how many people were in front of me. I was feeling pretty good going into the second, or I guess, the last couple miles downhill. I really tried to open it up on the top leading into the swoop. A lot of people get to the top of that and you can see them and they're just they're done. They've, in their mind, not whether or not physically they're done, mentally they're like, I'm at the top, it's all downhill from here, I can recover, I can rest. And they use that first quarter mile or so to really recover and then start pushing on the downhill. And for us being able to move and make up even more places than we normally would, I think, is a big advantage. Heading that downhill, I felt good. It was, time to move, and my legs responded as I hoped they would.
Incredibly, it's 8-year-old Riley and 68-year-old Melody still together up Insult, less than a mile and a half from the finish. Melody had passed Riley on the downhill, but Riley has just reclaimed the lead.
I was able to pass Melody on Insult, and I was like, okay, this is probably my only chance because the rest of this is just a little part of street and single track in the last sprinting place. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to pass her on Insult because I sprint up Insult and I practiced it and passed my dad up Insult too. So I'm like, this is my chance.
On Panoramic, I thought, all right, just take it as fast as your legs can take it, and I did. And then I got down onto the thing, and somebody stood there and said, you can do it, come on, you can go. And I did, and I really started going down. But no sooner was I really starting to stretch out, but I was on defeat again.
So last year I was injured. I had double hip surgery, and I had the patella knee injury. I did almost run when I actually got there that day, but I'd done it the prior 2 years run injured, and thank God I didn't run injured last year. But so for me, I was looking at it and I go, okay, well, who is going to win this thing? I looked at Melody, and Melody ran the same time in the Memorial Day race she did 2 years prior, which was a record for 68-year-olds or whatever she was that year. It was a great race. I said, oh, Melody's in shape. Then I looked, and who beat Melody in the 10K but Riley by like 2 minutes. I go, okay. She beats her by 2 minutes in the 10K. She got a good chance to beat her in the Dipsea. So I go, I like going to horse races. I like betting and things like that. So for me, I go, yeah, that looks like, it could be Riley Melody.
I must admit, when I got to that point, I thought, you're here, you're feeling good, this is our race. It's only Riley and you. There's nobody behind you. Don't even think there's anybody behind you, was what I was saying to myself. It's just you and her.
I was thinking she couldn't pass me on the streets because I thought she couldn't pass me on the streets because I could fly down the streets. And the single track, you can't really pass anybody in that part. And the only part where she could pass me is on the last finishing stretch. And I'm like, oh, but I can sprint that super fast. But she's won it 3 times, and she might be a fast sprinter too, so I had no idea what was in store for me.
Melody is a world-class runner and a world-class racer. And I think Melody was running and racing, and I think she was probably flabbergasted that this 8-year-old was there, but when you race, you're ready for anything. And so she was ready for it, and she probably just kept going and said, well, I'll see what happens. And she'll probably, blow up somewhere or another, but I hope she doesn't, because she's probably rooting for her at the same time as I would have been. And I think she said, and I would be thinking the same exact thing, that if I caught her at the finish line, I wouldn't have passed an 8-year-old. I would have gone across with hands up. But I think that what Melody hadn't thought about was she wasn't going to catch her at the finish line.
I was feeling excited. I thought it was in kind of a dream. I was like, hold on, how is this possible? It wasn't coming to me right away like, you won! I can't believe I beat a 3-time champion and everybody else in the race. I was so happy and excited for myself.
So that's the story of how the 8-year-old girl won the 100-year-old race. In the end, Riley and Melody were too good. Roy finished 3rd, about a minute back, and Alex 4th, 30 seconds later. Mark finished in 6th, while Russ had to settle for 18th place, and Jamie, suffering from a runner's injury, walked the final miles to the finish, cheering on runners as they passed. Although the top runners didn't come together and cross the finish line holding hands, the 100th Dipsea turned out to be a pretty good race.
I could not honestly in myself put things in there like I could have gone faster, or I should have gone faster, or maybe if I had pushed a little harder I would have done it. No, I thought, no, that wasn't in my mind at the time. I was really enjoying it. I was really enjoying just being out there with her. Maybe in my mind I was thinking, well, is she going to last? You know, is she going to last the whole way? But she did. And that's what made me hold her in awe, because that little girl ran a race well beyond her years and maturity. She was fantastic.
The really cool thing about the Dipsea, I mean, there's a lot of cool things, but we've got people from Marin in this area who are national age class champions. Look at Shirley Matson. She holds all kinds of national records. Melody holds world records in the marathon and other things at their age groups, right? And I think that one of the reasons that happens is because those people are able to train and compete in the Dipsea. I mean, they can get up in the morning and say, sure, I'm 65 years old or I'm 70 years old or whatever, but I got to get out there and run my 6 miles, and do my hill repeats or whatever, because I can win this thing, And if it's not an age handicapped race like that, then you're not competing for that. I mean, you don't get the first place trophy for winning your age group in a marathon somewhere, And here you do. I mean, you're the local star for a year, which is, I think, is really great.
Granted, it's, in the great scheme of things, it's minuscule. But the people who know it and know what it takes to do it, they really respect what people are able to do on that. And even if you can be the last runner section, but the fact that you got into the race, the fact that you showed up on race day and you finished, people respect you for that. Even it doesn't matter how well you finish. The fact that you ran the Dipsea or you ran, it's big. It's just different.
It's more than just another race. I always tell people who don't run that, to me, the finish line is like the Olympics, or what I imagine the Olympics to be, because you have all the crowds cheering. You're at a beautiful setting, Stinson Beach, and then the walk to wherever you're sitting can take 90 minutes. It's almost like a wedding every year, where you get to go through the receiving line and people say, how was your race, or what happened, and you see people all bloody and dirty, and that's the part where, if you think about that too much, it's not just another race.
The mania about the Dipsea really is about a group of people who all agree this is the most important race. The reality is that we, the runners, imbue this race with great importance.
On a day like this, I mean, there's 1,000 stories here, 1,500 stories more. Everybody's got a story. And this is 100 years of 1,000 stories. It doesn't get any better than that.
When the sun shines down on her green and gold gown, sleeping lady opens her eyes, waking up the shadows and chasing the fog out of a clear blue sky. Around her is a garden filled with flowers and trees, grassy meadows, streams and stones. Through this place there winds a trace the Dipsea race calls home. Well, through the park, across the bridge, up the stairs they go. From the valley floor to the mountain top, to the beaches down below. Flowers blend in scented winds that cast a magic spell. The rhythm of those running feet make music down.
At some point, a race, an event like this stops becoming an event and it becomes an institution. It's not just the committee, it's also the runners and the community and the spirit behind it. We love this race. So we'll keep it up another 100 years. Thank you.
Well, dancing down the mountainside, past the tallest redwood trees, past the rocky cliffs and the grassy hills, they smell the ocean's breeze. crescent turn of Stinson Sands marks the end, it seems. The beauty of the Dipsea will forever paint your dreams.